Now look, asked to go back and look at problem 114 again, so that we now have a moment acting at point I, and I guess you called this capital I in the previous problem, and instead of a force, and so we have a moment in the counterclockwise direction, so it's negative, with a magnitude m naught acting at point I. So we can go back and get our geometry again, and again all our geometry is in terms of A. And we have these two force members at A, B, D, and E that connect the two pin bars to ground, and they do so in certain directions that we found before, from A to F, from B to G, from D to G, and from E to H. So we can again take some forces and moments on the free body diagram of the upper bar, and so there's forces and moments acting on it with A, B, and C. And I think I forgot put an I in here. So we have A, B, and C. Oh, sorry, I think I needed an I on the upper one. Yeah, point I is on the upper bar, so that was right, and I should be here. All right, so that's what I did. I summed forces and moments on A, B, C, I. Now there's no force at I, but there's a moment at I. There's no moments at any of these other points. So we have this moment here in our moment equation, so this would be external moments. And so then we have three equations from this, and then on the vertical bar, we have points C, D, and E, so forces C, D, and E. And again, we got to remember to take the negative sign of this internal force at C, so that if we'd add these two, add up the equations, add up the vector equations anyway, we would get that force C cancels out. So we'd have negatives in front of FC here and FC here in our summations. So again, we get three equations and three more, so 6 equations. We got 6 unknowns, and we were asked to find the forces in the members. And again, I just wrote out here. This is the force and moment balance on the vertical member. So you see we have a minus C, a minus in front of the C terms. Now, if we crank through the algebra again, we get that FA is 1/6 m naught over A. So again, we have m naught over A is basically our force scale. So however m naught and A scale, we could basically make this thing either a huge structure or a very small structure. This thing is positive, so that means that this bar is in tension. So our moment was this way at point B, so that kind of makes some sense. This bar here also is in tension, and that I think makes some sense because the moment is trying to rotate this thing about point C, so it's trying to pull these things up. So these things are trying to hold it back down, which means that they're being stretched. And then FD here is in tension. That one's a little hard to see why that is. So this thing is kind of being pushed down, and so this kind of wants to push out, and so this needs to be pulling it back in. But then FE is in compression here. So this force is actually out here. So here this is pulling in, and this is pushing out to keep this thing in equilibrium with this force C. So again, it's hard to use your intuition on these problems, but you can kind of check the signs and see if they make some sense. And we have everything in our right units, and so that's the answer we get when we have a moment at